तुम्ही आता सकाळपासून तिथे करन्सी
Good afternoon, everyone. We're about to start. And if I could request you Thanks so much. Thanks so much for joining us today. Yes, we have muted everyone, so the noise is gone. My name is Jessie Paul. I'm the CEO of Paul Writer, and I'm your host for today with our first session on CX for the new year. So first of all, Happy New Year to everyone. And thanks so much for joining us on the last day of the first month of the new year. So coming back and joining us, a special welcome to those of you who are joining us for the first in the series. So we want to talk about the two aspects in today's session. So one is the integrated nature, what it is when it is not integrated. So you can feel it when you jump from the app to the website to the offline store, and you can just feel that something is not right. But it's, of course, far more difficult to actually put together a framework and make it correct. The second aspect that we wanted to talk about is, it's also the age of the skyrocketing customer expectations. So customers are more vocal, and customers actually have very high expectations. So webinar. And before I introduce our speakers, some quick housekeeping. We would like you all to stay on mute unless you're a presenter. We do provide a recording of the session that will be mailed to you on the email ID that you're registered on. And in terms of questions, when the speaker is presenting, you can put in your questions in the chat window, and they will respond to it as soon as they're done with their session. And we have a dedicated Q&A as well right at the end of the session. Duration of this webinar, and then we have around 5 to 10 minutes. You can just put that in the chat window right now. And with that, I would like to introduce our speakers. So we're very privileged to have with us today two wonderful speakers. Wendy Hogan, who's the Marketing Transformation and Strategy Director for Oracle APAC. And she's going to put a framework and an approach on how we can get integrated CX from Oracle. After that, we will have Amol Oberoi, who's the head digital marketing for Healthy India, who will give us both the practitioner perspective as well as some tips on what's worked for him in the past. So both of them have speakers earlier, and I speak from experience when I say they're both really awesome and give you great takeaways. So with that, I would like to hand over the floor to Wendy Hogan. Over to you, Wendy. Wendy, we can see your screen. I haven't heard you yet.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me now, Jessie?
Perfectly. Over to you.
Excellent. Apologies for that. Now that we have the technical issues out of the way, again, I enjoy interacting with the team at Paul Reiter and the broader India community. I was actually lucky enough to be there a couple of weeks ago at the IAMA, and the rapid kind of become digital India is more and more apparent, especially since post-September 2016, and it's really breathtaking to bear witness to and to some extent be a part of. So, sorry, technical difficulties again. Okay, so before we get started, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about me and tell you a bit of a story. Often people are curious as to why I work at Oracle. I'm from a media and advertising background, and I joined Oracle about 18 months ago, an enormous amount thanks to the internet and technology advances. And this quote you see on the screen is from a quite famous marketing professor, Scott Galloway from NYU, who really talks about technology is allowing us to opt out of advertising. If you can afford to buy content on your own terms from Geo or Times Internet or any of the many OTT providers you have in India, why would you not choose that option where you have no interruptions, you have instant access, you have the and when you think about it differently, so I really wanted to connect how marketers and CX professionals are enabling that in their businesses, and that was what motivated me to join Oracle. And the reality is we live in a changed world. All of these brands you see here exist now when they wouldn't have existed 10 years ago. Their business models are really based on services and businesses that are using real-time insights derived from a tremendous amount of data to deliver new types of customer experiences and new business models. They wouldn't be able to scale to their current success without the recent advances in data science. And Jesse just said, these services in turn are now driving a new business structure. Customers sell and by choice how customers are searching for things in the moment. They might say, I want to, you know, I'm in this vicinity, I want to get a coffee, I want to buy a present, I want to research whatever I'm interested in buying. People do that in the now more and more, and Google coined this term one to moment. And traditionally, marketing was one to many. In the digital era, where voice search is going on the interact 20. This will be etc. are really going to drive a lot of interaction. So we're going to have pictures and voice driving how we communicate going forward. In India, what's evident is that brands are really investing in their digital presence. Obviously, with that rapid acceleration from app and easy to use and relatively nice UX, then the way that you differentiate becomes about emotion. It becomes about how you connect with the customer in the moment to delight or disappoint them. You can drive loyalty and repeat business through this kind of connecting to emotion, which is another kind of Forrest has spent a lot of time talking about emotional intelligence. What happens when someone wants to buy something, return something, access their money, or transact with your bank, or access your telecommunication services, or buy an airline ticket, or change an airline ticket, or rent a car, or buy a car? How that experience folds and folds, and how it impacts your ability to proactively engage with that customer and deliver what they're looking for is your ability to differentiate your brand. Because the reality is most product decisions today are made before a customer interacts with your brand, and you need to be able to influence and use the digital body language and signals that you get from customers to be able to delight them in those moments that matter. And that requires a real change in thinking around your business and organizational structure and how you're thinking about marketing, sales, customer service, the supply chain. All of the information across the business needs to be better connected so that you can be thinking about the lifetime value of a customer as opposed to campaign-driven metrics around individual product launches. And you need to move from a traditional funnel-based view to connecting stories and data across the entire business. And what we see across the region and across the world, in fact, there's two different types of businesses. There's businesses that are transforming from legacy organizational structures and ways that they interact with customers, and also digitally native startups that are looking to scale and grow at speed. For both of these businesses, there's a requirement that you have to be very conscious of making sure you don't enable information silos and grow so fast that you have lots of data silos, or to how you can reduce them if you're an existing legacy business looking to be competitive in a digital economy. You need to simplify how you orchestrate and coordinate business processes to enable automation, consistency, and end-to-end interaction across the customer journey. You need to be able to generate insights, and if you don't have connected silos, it's very difficult to be predictive around how a customer wants to interact with you and what you can be offering a customer to delight them in that moment. And finally, that needs to be supported by a platform that can really satisfy both IT and business needs. It can really help you connect what the ROI is across your business and enable you to be truly omnichannel. And not connecting those experiences, having that disconnected data and disconnected intelligence does lead to a fragmented experience, and that leads to your brand is everything. Everything you do now is branding, and your ability to deliver to a customer really relies on connecting across data, intelligence, and experiences. At Oracle, we call that connection across those three areas Smarter CX. It's about, as we said, connecting data, connecting intelligence, and connecting experiences. So let me explain to you connecting data. I'm sure you're all quite familiar with this, but we have traditional forms of data, which is all about your transactional data sets, what's happening in the purchasing and point of sale and invoicing and ordering, etc. Your operational data sets around your budgets, your reporting, what's happening in the business. Your master data sets, your data warehousing, your master customer records, your product records, etc. And connecting those to digital data sets like behavioral data, as I talked about, digital body language, as well as point of sale activity, both online and offline. Adds into that new sets of data that are fast becoming more and more visible. So behavioral obviously comes from a lot of digital activity, and then third-party activity that you can track and connect into from data marketplaces, and particularly in the advertising environment. Sometimes second-party data sets that you can work from partners and other strategic alliances you can build, as well as the increasing availability of IoT across digital and physical products. You also need, as you break down those information silos, to connect the intelligence around that data that you have. How do you deliver actionable and real-time customer insights from that data? And how do you apply intelligence against that data? We really believe that you need to have capabilities to derive that across the business, and you need to be able to connect these data sets together. And you need to connect the experiences. All the time now I'm seeing these kind of interchangeable terminology between customer experience and marketing. And really people talking about, even Jesse talked about at the beginning, the whole app, website, and offline store experience. And that kind of, traditionally people may think of that as the sitting in the role of marketing, but if marketing has one kind of outreach to the customer, and customer service has a completely different type of outreach to the customer in terms of the content they're using at the call center versus the content that's being used for acquisition versus the content that's being used to drive sales. That's a very disconnected experience for the customer. And the customer needs you to understand as the brand their whole transaction history so that you can immediately interact with them based around what they're interested in. So delivering that end-to-end insight enables you to deliver a true customer experience across the business. It may also potentially include supply chain when you think about inventory and stock management, etc., and making sure something's in stock before you offer it to the client. So we support all of this through a connected stack and platform with Smarter CX, really connecting across the business through connected data, intelligence, and experiences. And if you build to the individual, which is really important, it's really about moving through the stages. And I think a lot of people start at that baseline of personalization, which is really about where customers volunteer information and you leverage that in a better way. It could be about preferences they've given you and how you customize to those preferences in what you offer them. And it's just the fundamentals of what you're trying to achieve. And then you move up the pyramid a little and you start looking at contextual behavior, where you mix those preferences that you're explicitly given with inferred behavior that you might leverage from insight from how they're behaving across your digital channels. And then you move up the pyramid to kind of the ultimate sophisticated way that you can interact with customers in an individualized way. And this is where you seamlessly leverage third-party data from various web sources, and with those, that behavioral and inferred kind of activity, as well as the preferences and other types of data you may have in the business, to deliver that individual interaction, which may, you know, like in a digital environment, maybe like that 1950s interaction where everyone behind the register knew you on a personal basis. And companies that can do this, you know, really are delivering real business outcomes. And hopefully Amal can share some of that with us when we get to his session, because it really is about delivering revenue growth and real business outcomes from connecting this across the business. And these are some stats from Boston Consulting Group around that. So to bring this to life, I wanted to share with you a short case study around a company. This is a US-driven company. We do have 3 days of these sessions. So over the next 2 days, my colleagues from India will deep dive further into some marketing specific case studies as well as sales and service. But I wanted to share with you briefly today, if that person could mute their line, that would be really useful. Denon was a traditional black box AVR company, and they realized they needed to change their business in order to remain competitive and continue to operate in this disruptive economy. They were an audio video company that had global presence. They were present across all continents, and they really wanted to transform to remain relevant. How could they compete against Sonos? How could they get data? So they introduced, and you know, recognizing people were moving from these traditional speakers to Bluetooth-enabled speakers to streaming music, and they were much more mobile device driven. So from that, they realized that perhaps from if they could Bluetooth and IoT enable their static products, then that would give them a data set, as well as having an app to control those products that would give them another data set, as well as connecting into streaming partners that would give them another data set. These were 3 different data points that they would realize that if they could connect that to their products and into their business, could completely transform how they do things. So they looked at IoT data for usage and location data from, you know, where their products were being used and how they were being used, integrating this with supply chain information around where things were being sold, connecting that into service and social data around how are consumers reacting to the product, what they're saying, what they're posting and talking about, and using all of that information to personalizing their marketing, as well as driving what their sales team should be focused on. So in the sales context, it wasn't really obvious where they were selling these products. And especially in markets like Asia and Europe, where point of sale data isn't necessarily readily available. So the IoT data enabled them to see products light up in a household and trace that back to where they were sold from, and ensure the salespeople were focused on those particular dealers and distributors, and understanding that places like festivals maybe were a more effective place to invest their marketing dollars, as opposed to more broader sweeps and different dealers that weren't necessarily delivering. And through marketing, they could also use, they discovered that people were looking at product, they were looking at the product data, they realized that a lot of people that were buying a small speaker were calling it bathroom. So that led them to develop a waterproof speaker and then market that as something like, do you like to jam in the shower? And that actually led to a 12% uplift in purchase rate, because they had this opportunity to access personalized information around usage, where things were going to be sold, as well as how people were using the product and creating a product that actually worked based on their preferences. And that also informed product usage in a similar way, as well as enabled them to be exposed to certain bugs and certain features that needed to be fixed, and they could proactively deliver customer service around what was happening and troubleshoot what was happening. And they actually discovered there was an issue with a particular memory bar, and they sent that out. They proactively sent out replacements, which really drove a completely different delight from their customers and loyalty from their customers as a result. So this kind of ability to connect with customers across all interactions was really enabled through the Oracle CX platform, where we integrated applications across their business and it was also enabled through their own recognition that they needed to change as a business. They needed to look at their organizational structure differently, their business model, the type of products they offered the market, and how they connected across the organization, the view of the customer and the way they interacted with the customer, enabled by a single tech platform to do business differently. And in India, we're working with a bunch of different customers to enable this. And as I said, the team that will be talking over the next couple of days, they'll go into some of these in more detail. And I think the point is, a lot of people think about Oracle as a very large traditional tech company that really works with big traditional enterprises, but we really do work, and the customer experience environment today is really about enabling businesses at any scale. So we work a lot with digitally native businesses who are looking to scale fast and want us to help them grow while they grow and grow with them, and other companies that are looking to transform. So really, Oracle does work with all ends of the business, as well as with the both B2B and B2C sides of the house. We do have specific solutions to both sides, as well as specific industry solutions for various industries. So a very comprehensive suite of products to help you deliver transformation beyond technology. And that's it from me, Jessie. I'll hand back over to you.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Wendy. And I do see that you have around 3 questions over there. So maybe you could take a stab at answering them now. And you can continue the conversation actually on the chat window while I hand over to Amol Oberoi from Hilti. And Hilti, for those of you not familiar, is this massive global construction major. So he's going to talk about a little bit about his experiences as well as his learnings and what he thinks you could use as a takeaway to have integrated CX in the age of discontent. Over to you. Amol, I can see your screen. I can't hear you yet.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me now?
Perfect. Yes, I can. Perfect.
A very good afternoon to all of you. Thanks for joining this session. Just a brief about me. I am Amol Oberoi. I head the digital for Hilti India. And I've joined Hilti 6 months back. Overall, I come in with 11 years of experience in total. And just a brief about Hilti. Hilti is a German company, which is the Rolls-Royce of construction sector in India. It's a manufacturing company, manufactures products for the construction sector. And in this session, I'm going to stress about all practical insights that today's modern marketeers basically overlook or lack or have not dreamt of to deliver an integrated experience for the customers. Before I move a step further, it is really important for me to touch upon as to why we call it an age of discontent. Where does this word discontent comes from, and why is this discontent being caused? Just a second. Yeah. So 4 key reasons that I'm going to talk about today that lead to discontent are all practical reasons that a modern marketeer faces in everyday life. The first one that I'm going to talk about today is the growing customer expectations. Over the last 3-4 years, the customer expectations have exponentially grown, and exponentially is, I would say, still an And under word to state the power of growing expectations, it has basically exploded like anything. In the age where the customers have started opting for voice search options, we as modern marketeers today, most of us don't know how to research the keywords that are typed on Google and make our presence strong on those keywords. So we are still in the age of researching the keywords, and the customer has moved to the voice search. Can you imagine the gap that is getting created? So this graph talks all about the gap between the customer expectations versus our ability as modern marketeers to meet these expectations. So there's a study by McKinsey which states that nearly there is a gap of 3 times in terms of growing customer expectations and our ability to meet customer expectations. So this is the number one problem that is causing the discontent. The second big problem that I see is the elusive one view of the customers. As a marketeer today, when I feel that I have to send the communication, I have to send the campaigns to my customers, what I land up doing at the end of the day is making my customer's life miserable, because the same customer is there in my email list, the same customer is there in my SMS list, the same customer has downloaded the app and is also entitled for a push notification. So at the end of the day, I make his life miserable. And if by chance that customer makes a mistake of purchasing something from me, I send him another 3-4 SMSs saying that your order has been dispatched from the warehouse. The following guy with this name is out for delivery and will be approaching you at this PM. You were not found at home, so we could not deliver. So your life becomes further more miserable rather than making it a much more smoother experience for customers. So that is where we feel I specifically feel that a single view of the customer is very much important, so that we know that if this customer has been sent a mail in the morning, let me not bother him with an SMS in the night saying that happy hours are yet back again. So talking about this, what is really important to understand here is 90% of our customers, they switch between the screens to complete the task, and a huge portion of this 90% has done the transactions from one or more device. So they are obviously there in lot of more than one channel, and we really need to understand to give them a good integrated experience by not bothering with multiple communications during the day. Third important step is inefficiency created by too many platforms and vendors. Google did a research where they figured out that on an average today, a modern marketeer or today's modern day agencies use average of 4.9 platforms to execute a single campaign, where they would use a separate platform for data segmentation. Then some people fancy a word called big data. They would have a big data setup. Then they would have a platform, 2-3 platforms to send mail communications to different people. Then they would have a separate SMS platform, separate push notification platform. Everything is totally existing in silos. So this is, I feel, another problem that on a practical note we face on a daily basis. The fourth big reason is basically a mindset problem. It is within the organization. When you talk about one customer experience, management says, okay, we are fine with it. There should be one single view of the customers. Why don't you go ahead and do it? A week later, when you come up with the total estimation of deploying a platform, developing an architecture which would give you a single view of the customers, there is a big no from the management. There is a resistance to change. There is management cites the lack of marketing resources problem. Then obviously there's a budget problem. Then we ourselves as modern marketeers step back thinking that there is a lack of training, a lot of time is required. I'm pressurized with the targets that I have. I cannot afford to spend so much time. So this is the fourth challenge which exists in the mindset within the organization. So to me, these are the 4 steps. If we chalk out a plan to overcome these in a phased manner, one by one, tackling one problem at a time, you would at least start your integrated customer experience or a marketing automation journey from that very day. The sad reality today is that 82% of our marketeers fail to see a single view of the customers, and this is a very high number. And those who see, most of them are basically still hellbent on too many systems or vendors that they rely on. So that's another big problem that exists in the industry today. Then 72% of the marketeers are unable to put insights garnered by big data into practice. As I said, big data is a fancy word that everybody likes to talk about in various forums, but the number says that 72% of the people actually do not know what to do with big data. Now let me talk about some practical ways of tackling this issue and embarking you on a practical journey of delivering the integrated customer experience. So first and foremost step for any marketeer today is to define all critical touch points where customers interact with your business. Once you define all critical touch points, let us go about scoring them. By scoring, I mean, for example, my website is my most crucial touch point where customers interact with me. How would you go about scoring this? You would have to set the various parameters. Example could be the potential of a channel to deliver revenue to you. Second could be the cost of acquisition from that channel. Is it high or is it low? Would you want to bet on a high cost per acquisition channel, or would you go about building your integrated customer experience first on a channel which has a high potential but is also a low cost acquisition channel for you? Third is where your most of the customers are present. For example, I have spent lakhs and lakhs of budgets, lakhs and lakhs of rupees in acquiring the customers from paid channels. Have I ever gone ahead and studied that how many of them are active on low cost channels like email marketing, push notification and SMS for me? If I feel that 50% of my customers are active on low cost channels, am I not foolish to spend so much amount again on those customers via paid platforms to deliver that experience to the customers? Can I not start with a low cost channel and provide an integrated experience to that customer, which is very much in my hands? So you go about scoring your channels where you get the maximum revenue from, at what cost, with what investment, and also a potential to drive repeat, because today repeat is a big challenge for the customers. Customers are not able to drive repeat business, and we have seen the stories from e-commerce where people went about spending crores of investments in acquiring new customers, but at the end of the day, when they realize the data, when they analyze the data a year or 2 years down the line, that bottom funnel of repeat customers was completely gone off because the experience was not delivered to the customers. So this is the first step that I believe is the most practical step to start, even when you think about delivering an integrated customer experience. Second is, no organization can succeed today in their integrated marketing approach if they do not have a single view of customers. In order to build a single view of the customers, this is the kind of architecture that you have to build within the organization to study your customers. On the left, you see are all the data repositories that exist in an organization today. Be it CRM data, your web analytics, your loyalty data, your offline store data, call center data, product attributes data, purchase data, customer browsing data, prospects inquiry data. All of these are to be lined in one side, and the feed from these channels has to go into a big data analytics layer, or for that matter any analytics layer that you are going to build. There you need to map the customers. For example, you can map the phone number of a customer with the email ID, where you get to know that I have this customer's email ID, I also have this customer's phone number. Now for me, this is one customer now. Instead of sending the mails to the customer sending a mail to the customer in the morning and sending the SMS to the customer again in the evening, is a foolish thing. You know that you've sent the mail, this is the email ID, and this customer also has a phone number. Now an SMS blast is scheduled at 5 p.m. Should I not remove this customer until the customer responds in the email? So this is the aggregation that you need to do in the data aggregation layer. It will take time. Don't worry about the time. Worry more about choosing a right approach to do this. Include your tech team into the discussions with the vendor whom you are finalizing, and put things into perspective one by one. Don't be in a hurry, because it is like you build it and then you fall on the face. There's no fun in doing that thing. So once your customer profile is aggregated, we move to the marketing mart. What does marketing mart do? Marketing mart is basically nothing but a customer journey builder. You know that I'm going to show the examples in the subsequent slide how a journey builder looks like. Uh, Marketing mart basically helps you to design the campaigns, design the logic. For example, I know that this person has abandoned the cart today. He's supposed to be sent a mail tomorrow, and if he has transacted from that cart communication that I have sent to him on day one, why should I send him a mail on day two? These are the logics that are to be built in marketing mart. If a customer is active on one channel and is not responding, can I try and send him a communication, a push notification to see if he's responding there? Is the customer trend changing? So marketing mart helps you do that. Then there are the channels where you need to target the customers on. I know that 60% of my user base is active on email marketing. Why would I spend unnecessarily doing the duplicate things on the other channels and increasing the overall spends, digital spends of the organization? Let me be more systematic in my approach, a more smarter, intelligent in my approach, that somebody who's active on email receives more communications on email than somebody who's active on SMS. So this will basically slowly help you understand which is the most preferred choice of channel for a customer. If it is mobile as a device, he's there on push, responding to push notifications, don't bother him with the email communications. Let that low cost channel do the justice for your marketing spends. So this is how, this is the journey which you would eventually reach to. So the last point here is uh, not the last, but last but one point here is, whatever behavior a user exhibits when you send them an email, send them an SMS, send them a push notification, don't forget to feed this back into your data analytics layer. Because if you don't feed this, you would never be able to understand the changing behavior of the customer. You would presume that the customer is still active on email, is still giving me orders from email, whereas the customer has not opened your mail for 90 days now, but is active on mobile as a device, on push notifications. So that has to be fed back into your data layer, which again gets appended to the aggregated customer profile, and then you deliver the experience through the most preferred channel again. So it's a feedback loop that has to run. Last is the DMP, or a lookalike audience building approach. Once you will have to jump to DMP only to expand your audience, but you can expand your audience only when you know the behavior of your existing audience. Then only you can fetch the lookalike audience. You cannot say that a customer who's reading a business newspaper is my customer. You don't know the attributes, you don't know the behavior of your existing customer. How can you define that? So this layer will help you understand your existing customer behavior, and then you go about matching the lookalike audience from the web. This will give you far better results. And then a lot of people today talk about programmatic media buying. Okay, I understand that you have some information about programmatic media buying, but do you first of all understand the behavior of your existing customers, that instead of doing that, instead of sorting out that mess, you have jumped to the programmatic media buying? So this is not the right approach. All organizations or everybody in this call who have the words like predictive modeling or artificial intelligence in their minds, AI or a predictive modeling cannot do justice to your organization or cannot fetch you the results if you first do not understand what is your existing customer demanding or what is his behavior. Then only you will predict his or her future behavior. So this is where this kind of an architecture really puts you in the map where you will be able to deliver the integrated customer experience. Third important step is leverage data to create integrated experience. You have created the data bed, you have created the analytics. Now start building journeys like this. For example, added the product to the cart, did not check out. Then you send a cart abandonment mail, did not checked out from that mail as well. Now you see whether the segment is accessible on app. Okay, yes, send the push notification to the customer. Don't keep on spending money on a channel where the customer is not really active at. This is one example. Second example is this is one example from a leading bank in the country where they this is the example of a retirement plan where they wanted a person who has taken a retirement plan from them would also be interested in buying a married protection plan. So they went about integrating it after building a single unified view of the customer. They check whether the customer exists in the contact list. Okay, if the customer has an email ID, check for the category. Did the customer buy in the retirement plan category? Okay, now check whether we have an email. Okay, send an email. If the email is open, assign the lead score to a certain person, to that person. Now if that customer has clicked your email, opened a video, opened a link, you can increase the lead score rankings. If the customer has not responded to your email for 10 days, go about sending an ODB call to that customer, inquiring about whether engaging the customer through a voice call. If the customer responds and the duration is higher than 15 seconds, rank the lead score to the highest potential level because the customer has responded. So with this, they saw a 30% increase in their revenue of protection married plan, which they were cross-selling to the people from the retirement plan category. Just because they had a single view of the customers and they knew about which channels do the customers respond to, and which channel is the customer really converting at, they could deliver this important milestone for the organization. This is one model which I developed in my last organization, where I developed a send time optimization architecture and a predictability model for sending emails to my customers. So I'm not going to get into the details of the model, but I'll get into the details of what we did and what we achieved. So this is how eventually your overall experience is going to look like at the end of the day when you are through the entire loop. Not just one channel, not just two channels, 3-4 important channels of your business. You can build a program, like start a program. If the user has browsed your website, check whether you have an email ID of that customer or not. Okay, send him an email. If not, can you check whether the customer has app installed? If yes, send him a push message. If the customer responds, okay, well and good. If not, then send him an email after waiting for a certain time frame. So this is a very high level plan that you would, or I would say a journey where you would eventually reach, in a year's time or year and a half time, when you build the architecture that I have shown in my previous slides. So now I'm going to talk about some results of delivering an integrated customer experience by building a unified view of the customer. So when I started doing send time optimization, just to repeat, send time optimization is basically segregating the customer into 17, 18 important time slots of the day where the customers are opening our emails. So now, if you see this chart, there are 18 slots that we divided for our customers, in which for example, I as a customer open my email between 9 to 10 a.m. and you are opening between 10 to 11 a.m. So I will be in 9 to 10 slot, you will be in 10 to 11 slot. So when we were earlier delivering our emails, uh, the people who were delivered the mail in slot 1, 9.47% of the people were opening the emails in that slot 1. Similarly, in slot 2, 11.92, so on and so forth till slot number 18. So not more than 18 to 20% of the people were opening the emails in the same slot where we were sending them the emails. We went ahead and studied the most preferred time slots by studying the historical data of all the customers, and then segregated them into their most preferred time slot and started sending mails in that time slot. See the improvement in the second graph, second data point that I'm going to show to you. From an average 18 to 20% within the same time slot, it rose to 55 to 56% of average people opening the emails in the slots where they were targeted. This also accounted for the changing behavior with mobile as a dynamic device, but yet I would say the important milestone was I was able to make 56% of the people open the email within the time slot which I had chosen for them, basis the data analysis that I had done for them. And these are the results of increase in the open rates that we saw within 60 days of doing this exercise. From an average 8.5% of open rate, we rose to 16.5% open rate for repeat transactors and for one-time transactors as well. So this was the remarkable milestone that we could achieve within 60 days by building a unified data architecture and understanding our historical customer behavior. Second important step is, when you are doing this exercise, don't forget to set the KPIs that you are going to achieve at the end of the day, because management is going to ask you about the KPIs. Nothing more, nothing less. So we had set certain KPIs. We could bring the cost of repeat order down from email channel. Within email channel, the cost of repeat order was brought down from close to $110 to rupees 40 within 60 to 65 days. Almost a remarkable achievement. We were sending SMS to every customer despite knowing whether the customer is active or what segment the customer belonged to. When we did the segmentation and integrated with email as a channel, we started sending SMS communication to only those people who were active on SMS, but not who were active only on SMS. So we could bring down our SMS cost per acquisition from $450 to just to 180 to 200 rupees. So this is where we saw another savings for our management. So this is the power of analytics, the power of building a single view when you deliver the integrated and more automated customer experience. And what do you finally get at the end of the day? It is employee satisfaction. Why did I say employee satisfaction? Because instead of doing this manually for spending 15 to 16 man hours a day or 20 to 30 man hours a week, when things get automated, your employees feel satisfied and they start evolving towards a more strategic mindset than just an executionist at the end of the day. So employees' productivity increases, you are able to deliver better service, customer loyalty, and then at the end of the day, it's all about profits that you make. And also, not last but not the least, it is your organization or a brand that lands up developing a case study for itself, and you are featured as a brand who's delivered an integrated customer experience much more legitimately and much more intelligently in a smarter way at the end of the day. So this is what I had to stress upon in today's webinar, and I hope you have taken some practical insights. Don't freak out and don't get distracted by thinking about AI or predictability modeling at this part of this marketing journey, when you don't even have a unified customer view. Okay, let the Amazons of the world and Flipkarts of the world do it, because they have gone to that stage. If I am not at that stage, I don't think so it's the right approach. For me, things like AI predictability modeling would start working when, during my 8 working hours of the day, I stop getting calls from the bank saying that, sir, please buy a credit card or you are entitled for a personal loan, when I already have taken a loan from that bank and when I have already taken a credit card for that bank. When I get out of this mess, then I believe we are ready for artificial intelligence or predictability modeling. At this point in time, what is most important is, let organizations understand their customer. Don't pitch them a credit card again if they have bought the credit card from you almost 5 years back. So with this, I end my session. I'm open to all the questions that you guys have. Sorry for taking so much time.
Amol, actually, you're bang on time, so perfect. We're ready for questions now. So Wendy, I see that you've been answering most of your chat-based questions. So I'm going to actually offer the first question to Amol. And so I'm going to start with the one from Tanya, which is, how long does it actually take for journey mapping to throw up intelligence like preferred channel and cost normalization?
So there's no fixed answer to it, but what really speeds up this journey is when you are very clear on what you need to achieve and what resource capabilities you have in-house. generally, people, they involve their technical team at a very later stage, involve them early into the cycle when you are into discussions with the vendors about what platform to choose. Some people land up choosing one module from one player and second module from second player. So when you at a later stage start integrating two modules, there you see a restriction that the API calls cannot handle 200 concurrent requests at a time. You could have gone for a more scalable solution. Some people start building their marketing automation suite from scratch, instead of analyzing that I have a platform which is already there, which is capturing my customer journey. Let me first evaluate whether it is integratable with the new platform or marketing automation suite that I'm trying to rope in. If it is integratable, you save the time. So if you do it smartly, I believe within 10 to 12 months, you are in a journey where you at least fix up two of your most important channels and start delivering something better than nothing at this point in time.
Great. I hope that answered. You're getting a lot of thank yous over here. You mentioned that you were able to reduce the email cost for repeat orders. Couple of questions around that.
Sure.
So they want to know how you did it.
So so the best way to start with is, first you figure out which set of customers are most active on email as a channel. Usually people go about sending mails to 10 lakh customers a day when they know that the active set is 2 lakh. Okay, you want to make others also active, point taken. You reduce the frequency of the email on those customers and instead target them from their most preferred channel. This is one thing that you need to keep in mind. Second thing you need to keep in mind is, when you are sending mails to the customers, are you able to make maximum customers open those emails first, then think of transactions as the second step? When you make them open, this is exactly what I did. I thought that if I'm not able to make at least 40 to 50% of my people open on the same slot where they have been very active historically in, there is no point for me to celebrate the success of a marketing automation platform. So with this logic, we were able to achieve close to 55% people opening the email in the same slot where I had thought they would open in, with the help of the predictive data analytics. So the first job is done. Second is, when you segment your customers, play with the customer attributes. If I talk about a product like Oracle Responses, which I used in my journey, it offers you to play with huge set of data attributes. There is a primary table in Oracle Responses which helps you play with 80 customer attributes. And as I mentioned, think of a scalable solution. 80 attributes in a primary table and 110 more attributes in a supplementary table which can be appended to a primary table. So you have close to 190 to 200 attributes around a customer to play with. Then you judge which attributes are more important for the customers. And when you have a single view of the customers and you know what attributes are important, for example, the customer's category in which he is buying the most is important. Which category can be marked as a related category for cross sell is also important. So then you personalize the emails of the customer as the second step. When you personalize the emails, uh, personalize the delivery slots of the emails, you would definitely see an improvement in the cost per order at the end of the day. So these are 2-3 points, but customization of the email, personalization of the delivery slots can only happen when you know the single view of the customer. You know that these are the attributes, and this is the most important attribute where a customer is showing interest again and again. So this is what would bring down the cost per order for you.
I can see thank yous again for that. So I'm going to leave with one last question, which either Wendy or Amol can answer, which would be, what should be the first step before starting on a marketing automation journey?
So according to me, the first important step I hope you all can see my screen. I'll just take you to the last final takeaway slide where I have mentioned this point. If you can see the point number 5 is choose a player who offers a range of marketing automation solutions that easily get integrated to each other. Don't buy one module from the one vendor and don't buy the second module from the second vendor, because integrating the customer data points across 5 modules is what creates a mess. Choose a player which can offer you the entire stack. This is number 1. Second, when you evaluate the stack, check the scalability for sure. By scalability, I mean, is this system integratable with your existing data repositories which you are using? Is this system integratable with, suppose a lot of organizations are today are storing the customer journeys or the customer browsing history on their website. That's a humongous data when you're storing the customer's browsing history again and again or on an iterative basis. You already have one system which has captured the customer journey for last 2 years. Why would you now start from scratch again just because you've signed up a new platform? You put a challenge to the vendor saying that I have this platform, integrate this platform with yours, and so that it saves 30% of my time of recapturing, or I would say save 12 months of my time of recapturing the customer journey again. So these are the smart things that you need to discuss with the player that you are trying to choose. And at the end of the day, also involve your technology team from day one, because they understand this integration or this architecture and the scalability around it much better than we as modern marketeers understand. We know we are strong in the digital marketing side, but tech stack, let that decision be taken from the technology team, involve them early in the stage. And last but not the least, building this architecture is very challenging. Plan it out in a phase manner. Don't say that or don't think that I have 5 different channels to start with. Take one channel, fix it, integrate it. For example, take email as first channel, as I took, integrated with SMS, and third I brought in mobile app as the third channel. Don't think of channels like paid and all immediately to be brought in. Let me end this question with a very important message. A year back, I was in Jim Corbett National Park, and my safari driver, he put across a question to me asking that I have a small business, I have a small website, which is the best channel for me? Is it Facebook or is it search engine optimization? SEO is the word that he used. And I, unknowingly told him that I thought that he's a small player, Facebook would work for him. When I told him that Facebook is a good channel for you to market your business, he said that, but sir, every day 10, I get 10 leads, and all these 10 leads are coming from Google search. Why should I go for Facebook? So that intelligently opened my mind that a guy sitting into the remote areas in the jungles of Uttarakhand can apply his brain to distinguish which channel is best for him and is yielding an ROI for him currently, and he wants to invest time and money in that channel first instead of a blind suggestion from my side. That was a real eye opener for me.
And Jesse, if I could add a little, I think Amal spoke a lot at the beginning of his awesome presentation about connecting what you're doing above the line to not just spending all your time on acquisition and constantly trying to convert customers, and really focusing on how do you engage and nurture that relationship. So there's a lot of investment right now in, there's a lot of kind of jumping to the conclusion that digital marketing equates to spending money on Google and Facebook. And that is the beginning point and the starting point maybe for a lot of acquisition. But what really smart marketers are doing, as Amol just showed you, is taking what they've done in that acquisition environment and connecting people into an entire journey. And that's where automation tools come into play to enable you to interact at scale in a personalized way that doesn't, a few people asked about frustrating the customer and being annoying marketers. If you're giving informed communications based on preference that are personalized to what an individual and what an individual's told you implicitly and explicitly about what they're interested in, then that will enable you to build a much better relationship and, skew to brand preference and loyalty than if you're just constantly blasting people with everyone and anyone in your database and across your website with the same offers and the same experience. So investing in automation is really about scaling what you're trying to do to personalize and deliver a customer experience and nurture a relationship with the customer beyond just constantly trying to send them offers and keep their business, just top level relationship.
Great. Thank you, both of you. Awesome sessions. And I think it says volumes for, the participants also, that 1 hour, we're still really enthusiastic and participating. So thanks to everyone for joining us. And with that, I'm going to close this webinar. But as we said, we have the recording. We share the link with you. And tomorrow at 3 p.m. IST, we hope to see you back for the second in our series. So we have Sai Narayan and Madhukar tomorrow, and I hope to see you again. Thanks so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.